Hey everybody, welcome to Drive-Thru Review 735. Today I'm going to talk about Expedition Leaders, and this is the first expansion to Lost Ruins of Arnak. Although it's not really the first expansion, it's the first published expansion. There's been some print and play expansions, which I actually will talk about when we get to the review section of this. But what this introduces here to the Lost Ruins of Arnak base game is, I believe, 6 different characters or different leaders that you can take on your various different quests and through your campaigns of Lost Ruins of Arnak. It also has 2 new temple boards. It's a 1 double-sided board that you can change the temple track. There's some new cards and some new sites and things like that that you can go through, but the main thing is the expedition leaders and then the 2 temple boards. So let's jump down to the table. I'm going to walk through just the leaders and the boards. I'm not going to go through any of the extra cards or anything like that, because I'm going to go through the main thrust of it. And then we'll talk more about this as well as one of their print and play expansions in the review portion. So again, the main thing I want to talk about here is this new double-sided temple board. Talk about that first. And then you have new boards here for each of the different characters and expedition leaders. And each of them is going to have kind of their own custom starting deck, you can see with the indication there. So you're going to take the 4 cards associated with that leader and then add the 2 fear cards just like in the base game. And so you're going to have a custom starting deck there. And then there's also some extra pieces and stuff like that for some of the special powers and so on that the different characters will have. So first let's talk about the temple boards. So here we have the lizard board right here, and it's basically the same. Now there's a couple of key things to note here. On both these new boards, sometimes you're going to have travel icons that you need to move past them. Not so much on this side, but there's a couple there at the beginning. Now the main thing with this board here is you have a spot here for a guardian, for a monster. And if they don't move up off of this, then they'll start to accrue fear, and that will apply for all players in the game. So this is just kind of a little bit of a wrinkle into moving up the temple here. Now, as I said here at the bottom, there's a couple of these spots. They're going to require travel icons, in this case just boots there. But now let's take a look at the monkey side. Now here's the monkey side as well. Now let's look at the top. And you can see you have to get planes here to move up to some of the higher spots. And one thing to note, which I forgot to mention on the other side, is you can see these icons here, this one. And what that means is that once you're at this level, then you can buy the lowest level here of these extra bonus temple tiles. And then once you get up to here, the second highest region there, then you can buy up here and get the 6-point tiles there. So you can do that on both sides of these temples. Now the other thing to note here is this one has a little spot here for the artifact card. So an artifact will go there, and then so once players move there, they can just basically effectively activate that artifact for free. You can see it's always going to be a 3 compass cost card there. Now the other thing to note here, so if we zoom out just a little bit there, we'll see here the hourglass, or excuse me, the spyglass will go up this side and the book will go up this side. And so these are considered to be the same level here. So you can move the book up to here and here if your hourglass is still there. But they have to go up the left and right side of the track based on which type of token they are. All right, so that's the 2 temple boards. And now we're going to look at the first of our leaders. And these are sort of scaled based on complexity. So if you have a new player, possibly you might want to give them this character here, which is the captain. He's kind of effectively the simplest character to play. Now, one of his special abilities is he gets a 3rd worker. So right away, that's really cool because he has a 3rd character that he can place onto the board. Now, in addition to placing this guy on the board, he can also play it here, and you can see this icon down there, and that means you can activate one of the assistants that's face up in the general supply on their silver side. So that's pretty snazzy as well. You also see this blue icon here. So in addition to using an idol up here to activate these other little bonuses, you can always move an idol to one of these blue spots here that's kind of shaded to either do one of the normal bonuses or this special blue bonus. So the captain could move an idol over his 3 and 4-point spot to get a compass and a plane travel. He's pretty straightforward. Now his starting deck is a little bit, you might go, wow, that's really overpowered. Well, let's look at his starting deck. It gives him a gold, no big deal. This one is for each character that is placed on the main board, not if they're activated to this spot down here. You can get gold, compass, or tablet. So if you have all 3 of your characters on the board, you have a choice of any of these up to a tablet there. So that's that. This one here is you can get a compass or spend a gold for 2 planes. So that's pretty cool. But you can see he starts with a hidden fear. And this is actually worth -2 points instead of -1 point like normal fear. But if you banish this, you get a compass when you banish it. So you're gonna be wanting to try to banish that pretty quickly. So that's the captain and their starting deck. Next we have the falconer. Now she has her own starting deck and she has her little pet falcon here. Now you can see here you have certain icons that will move this bird icon up here and up here. Now always at the start of every round it will automatically move 1 spot no matter where it is. And what you can do on your turn is activate it, and whenever you activate it for one of these actions it'll move all the way back to the beginning. Now some of these are quick actions. So you can see here if it was here you would get a gold or a tablet and a travel icon. Here you can activate a level 1 site or even a level 2 site. But these will cost your main actions. They aren't part of the free actions. And if we look over here, one of her blue idle activations will give her the compass and move the bird up. This is indicating that it moves at the start of the turn. If you defeat a guardian, you can flip it. Instead of using the boon that it would normally give you, you can use it to move the bird up here. Now her starting deck is gold. Or if you've defeated a certain number of guardians, you can get a gold, or trash a card, or you can get a gold and move the bird. And this one says you get a compass after you discover a new site. This turn you may draw 2 guardians and choose 1. So that's kind of nice. And this one will just straight activate the bird. So you've got this kind of ticking kind of special ability here, and that's the falconer. Now here is the Baroness, and she has no special tokens here, but you can see a couple of things. One, you will put 1 gold piece on rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. She will get that as kind of like income free every round. And you can see her special blue idle action. Here's a gold and a card. And she has an interesting starting deck. So you have these 3 cards here, which I'll show you. So you can get compass, 2 coins to get you a ruby, coin, and you may exile the far left item from the card row and then refill it. And then you have this here. For each item that you have in play, you can get these things here. So gold, compass, or activate one of your assistants. Now you also have this special delivery card, which is kind of a differently backed card. You always have this in your hand. So when you play this effect when you buy an item and put it directly in your hand. So you don't have to wait for the next turn to get it out of your draw pile. You can get it and play it immediately. Then you play this along with it, and then this will come back into your hand. And you can even exile this card as an exile action if you wanted to, and it'll come back in your hand. So you're only going to be drawing 4 other cards with this. So this is always going to be eating up a spot in your hand as well. But you can see she obviously want to generate money, get lots of items, kind of fill your deck with very useful items. That's the Baroness. Okay, so next we have the Professor, and if you can see this icon here, it tells you at the start of the game you draw 3 random artifacts off the top of the deck. And effectively you're going to kind of put them in your suitcase. But your suitcase is going to also give you some resources similar to the Baroness. So at the beginning of round 2, 3, 4, and 5, you're either going to get a compass or a tablet. Now the items that are in here, the compasses and tablets, are only allowed to be used to purchase and activate artifacts. They can't be used for any other kind of event in the game. Now the artifacts that you drew at the beginning, only you have access to, and once you have bought all 3 of them, then you will refill kind of your little stash there, and you get 1 compass and then 3 new artifacts. That only happens once. If you empty it again, you don't get any more. Now we take a look here at the blue action. So you can see you get a gold and an upgrade of an item, and then you get a compass to, again, your suitcase, which will only be used for purchasing artifacts. Now here, we'll look at his starting deck. So you've got gold. You've got here, this is the number of artifacts in play. So you can generate resources possibly for your suitcase, again, getting more artifacts. You've got here a compass or an upgrade. And you've got here, you get a compass, and you may swap 1 artifact in your archive with 1 from the card row. So you can take one, kind of effectively put it in your archive in your suitcase, and then now only you have the ability to get that. Now next we have the Explorer, and you can see she's a little bit handicapped. She only has 1 worker, whereas the captain gets a 3rd one. She only effectively has 1. But she has some little tricks up her sleeve here. So first let's take a look at the blue action, get compass, gold, and travel icon. That's for here. She starts in play with these 2 kind of supply tokens. This 3rd one here will come into her possession at the beginning of round 3, but she starts with these 2. So these you can use to move that worker around to other spaces. So you'll place it out there, and then what you do is you'll move the worker from the space where they're at, and then put this token down on there, and then you can move them to any other unoccupied spot for free. The next time you do it, or you can do this in any order really, you can move from that spot to another spot by paying a gold, in addition to the travel costs and the normal costs. And then finally you can spend a compass to do that. So you can get 4 worker placement actions out of the 1 worker, but you can never return to a spot where you've marked that you were, and then at the end of the round you'll collect these and then go back to what you were doing. Now if we take a look at some of our cards, there's some other ways that we can use these snack tokens here. So this one you get a gold, or you can spend 1, and then you can get a tablet and then activate any face-up idol that's currently on the board there. This one should get a gold. This one here, you get a compass, and if you discover a new site this turn, you may draw 2 sites and choose 1. And then finally you can do this, and then if you want to activate any kind of the campsite there, so you can get resources even if there's a worker there. Now next we have the Mystic. And one thing you can see right away with the Mystic is whenever you draw up to your hand of 5 cards, you're going to draw an extra fear off of the top of the fear deck. So you're always going to have fear just kind of coming into your hand. Now however, whenever you exile a card through an action, you will stick it here on the ritual spot there. So if there's any fear cards in here, they're not going to count negative points to you at the end of the game. But as you can see, you can actually take a ritual to discard 2, 3, or 4 fear cards to do a special action. And that's going to be your main action when you do that. So let's look at one example here. This card here is get a compass or exile a card, or exile this card and then perform a ritual. That's what that little flame means. So if I did that, I could then burn 2 fear, 3 fear, or 4 fear out of this deck to either get some gold and a compass, buy an artifact at a discount of 3, or defeat a guardian, basically for free. Now you can see here, he has actually more slots up here for his idle slots and 3 blue ones. Now these here, if once you activate them, you'll get a fear card into your deck. But you can immediately do that, in this case, if you wanted to do exile. So I could do this one here, get the fear card, and then I would be activating this idol here to exile it and then get the arrow. This one here, I could exile a card and immediately do a ritual this way by activating any 3 of these. So he's really just kind of wading into the fear zone and trying to collect those to activate these extra bonus abilities. Now let's just take a look at his starting deck real quick. We showed you this one already. This one is gold, exile or ritual, money, card or ritual, and this one is compass. And if you discover a new site this turn, you may exile instead of the effect of the idol that you get. So that's pretty cool there. And then you can exile it to do a ritual. So that is all of the different characters. Okay, so that is Lost Ruins of Arnak Expedition Leaders expansion. I highly recommend this expansion. I think if you enjoyed the base game at all, you 100% should get this. It's actually elevated the base game up much higher than it was. I already enjoyed the game, but now it's one of my favorites, to be honest with you, and it's one of my favorite solitaire experiences. Now I have played the expansion with 3 players and also solo. I haven't played it with 2 or 4. Honestly, I've played this game a little bit more over the course of the last year or so. Well, about the last year, because it basically came out at the very tail end of 2020. And I don't know that it was really in the hands of most people until like maybe December, definitely January of this year. Anyway, so I played it a lot over the last year anyway with different player counts without the expansion. And I would say this is best to me as a solitaire or a 2-player game. With 3 and 4, it gets like a little bit, it's kind of solitaire-ish. So there's not really much you can do to interact. There's a little bit with the worker placement and stuff, but it's definitely more of like you kind of go off on your own little quest and adventure and that kind of thing. Now, I don't hate it with 3 or 4 players. I've played it plenty of times with 3 or 4 players, and it's fine. But honestly, if you ask me, I prefer it with 1 or 2 players. It's really nice kind of back and forth with 2 players, and it's really great solitaire. Now, I think that is compounded upon with the expansion here, because what the expansion does with those different characters is it just opens up, you know, the world. You've got so many different kind of cool strategies with all the different characters, the 2 new temples you can go after. It just kind of opens everything up. I will say, and I did play it a lot over the last year. I mean, I couldn't even tell you, probably at least a dozen times or more. It does get kind of samey without the expansion. because you have the temple track, you're going up that, you're trying to kill guardians, you're trying to activate the idols and get the bonuses from exploring, and it's this whole combo to basically get to the top of the temple, or kill a lot of guardians too. So after a while, after several plays, it gets kind of the same. There's nothing against the game. Most games you play it like 10 times and it's like, okay, I can put this on the shelf for a while and not play it. No big deal. But this, with having 6 new explorers, that's really neat, because you've got all of these different strategies. And I've only played with 4 of them. I haven't played with the Professor or the Mystic. I played with the other 4. And I enjoyed all of them. And they are definitely more or less hard, depending on how, what they say in the rule book, because the Captain's the easiest one, and then it's the Falconer and so on. And it definitely does get trickier to sort of put your combos together later on. I found probably, and they might be out of order, or maybe I'm just a dummy, but the Baroness I've actually found was trickier to play than the Explorer, because the Explorer is, according to the rules, is a little bit harder, but I found that one a little bit easier to play. So I highly recommend it. It's just going to add a lot of replayability and stuff, and having the 2 new temples is really cool. It changes up kind of the pattern of kind of the resource gathering and stuff that you kind of get used to with the base game. One thing I will say is I want to give a plug for this little thing here. This is a printout of the Search for Professor Koodle, and this is a print and play expansion that you can download for free and print out. There's actually even like I think it's an HTML5 app that you can run on your phone or computer as well. You don't have to print this out. And there's some other decks of cards and things that you can print out as well. And it's kind of a 4-part campaign, sort of like a little quest that you can go on and you can play it through. And so what I've done is actually played it through with the Captain character. And then I was like, holy crap, this is awesome, because it's like this adventure. I mean, it's a Euro game and it's all these mechanics and resource conversion stuff, but it really feels, the way they've outlined this, like you're on this adventure. And it kind of adds a little bit of story and flavor to the whole Lost Ruins of Arnak experience. And so I really recommend folks get this and the expansion, because I'm really excited to do this, to go play through this campaign with all 6 characters. And you can scale up. They've even made the solitaire stuff more difficult, so you can print out like the purple cards. So if you play the solitaire game, all you have like your basic cards. Then you either add in green or red cards from the base game, and that will scale your difficulty up. Now there's purple ones, and you can print those out. So I played through the campaign with just the red cards, which used to be the hard one. I haven't tried the purple ones yet. And so I was able to beat the campaign, although I beat it with like the level 1, like, yeah, you won, but you weren't too great, so that was kind of fun. Just a side note, I got in the hole basically like 23 points in the first game, and so you kind of like carry your points over game to game in a way. And then I did really good in the last 3, but then I can never get out of that hole that basically of that 23 points in the first game. But it's really neat, because this gives you a really interesting sort of puzzly kind of setup, and it's very intuitive and easy to play through, but it makes you look at the board in a different way, and it doesn't in a narrative way where you have like a bunch of monsters sometimes, or you've got to like race up this temple that's flooding, so all of the different levels of the temple are like worthless after a minute. And there's just a bunch of different little things in there that you can do, and you go out and you get artifacts and stuff that are specific to the story that's outlined in this. But having the ability to play through that with these specific characters just kind of adds really to the story and stuff. So it's kind of like you're on this expedition to rescue this professor, and then you're kind of your protege has gone off and she sort of screwed you, and then like she's gone off on her own and just backstabbed you and stuff. So you're trying to race her. That's kind of who like the AI bot is your apprentice. So I really recommend. It's one of my favorite solo experiences that I've had, and I've done a lot of solo gaming over the last year. So you might see this in another video at the beginning of next year where I talk about some of that. But highly recommend. And even if you're not really a solo gamer, I definitely recommend this, playing your 2, 3, 4 player Arnak, because it's really going to just re-energize the game, I think. So definitely take a look at this game and this expansion. I'll put a link to my old review in case you, for some reason, watched this far and you haven't watched that. But yeah, definitely take a look at it. Highly recommend it, and supremely recommend it with the little campaign expansion they put out. Okay, thanks.